Welcome back to our journey through literature. Last time, we began to sort of unearth the foundational layers of Shakespeare's really compelling tragedy, Macbeth. We explored the historical shadows that might have influenced its creation. We discussed those big overarching themes like ambition and, the insidious corrupting nature of power. And we introduced you to our central figures, Macbeth, the, initially valiant general, and his equally ambitious, quite formidable wife, Lady Macbeth. It was a fascinating first look into the world Shakespeare meticulously crafted, really setting the stage for a narrative that still, resonates today.
And today, we're not just dipping our toes in, we're plunging straight into the turbulent waters of Act One of Macbeth. This act is absolutely crucial. It serves as the bedrock, the very foundation upon which the entire tragic edifice of the play is built. In terms of dramatic structure, you really should think of this as the exposition in its, purest form. Its mission is multifaceted and, frankly, incredibly efficient. It immerses us in the play's unique, quite unsettling atmosphere. It starts to sketch out the initial states and the burgeoning internal conflicts of our key characters. And, maybe most importantly, it establishes the central conflict, the one that will drive the entire relentless narrative forward. We'll be meticulously examining the who, where, when, and why as the stage is set for a truly monumental and ultimately destructive shift in one man's destiny.
That's right. Our mission today is really a close reading of Macbeth, Act 1. We're going to meticulously deconstruct how this pivotal section doesn't just, advance the plot, but truly deepens characterization and begins to develop those core themes that we've already hinted at. We'll unpack each key scene, diving into the weighty decisions that are made, the incredibly powerful and often unsettling language used, and the profound implications of every twist and turn that unfolds. Get ready to truly go deep, because Act 1 of Macbeth sets a furious, relentless pace for the tragedy that is to come, and it pulls you in from the very first lines. Okay, so our journey into Act 1 begins abruptly, doesn't it? Almost jarringly. From the very first breath, we're plunged into this desolate, storm-ravaged landscape. It's almost as if Shakespeare is deliberately trying to disorient us right from the outset. We encounter three mysterious figures, the Weird Sisters, or, the witches, amidst thunder and lightning on a heath. They're discussing when they'll meet again, specifically after a battle, and their target, or maybe their chosen victim, is Macbeth. It's a remarkably brief scene, isn't it?
But the sheer density of its impact is just astonishing.
It really is. It's an immediate, almost visceral plunge into an atmosphere thick with supernatural influence and profound moral ambiguity. Shakespeare doesn't ease us in with pleasantries. He just throws us headfirst into a world where chaos and disorder seem to reign supreme, reflecting not just the hurly-burly of the battle, but signaling a deeper, more pervasive chaos at work in the very fabric of existence. This instantly establishes key elements of the play's world, a place where dark, non-human forces are actively at play, manipulating events, perhaps, and where the natural order feels like it's already under siege. This scene immediately foreshadows the central conflict by linking Macbeth, our protagonist, to these mysterious beings and their ominous, clearly malevolent intentions. You're left with this strong sense that something unnatural and profoundly significant is about to occur, and Macbeth is right at the heart of it, maybe unknowingly, maybe not.
And the witches themselves are utterly captivating, aren't they? Their appearance is described as striking and unsettling. They look like women, but their beards suggest something unnatural. They communicate in riddles, strange gestures. What are we meant to make of these figures from this initial fleeting glimpse?
Well, from this initial portrayal, it's immediately clear they are far more than just, stereotypical old crones from some folktale. They're presented as powerful agents of disorder, not simply passive observers or fortune tellers. Their physical description appearing as women but with beards immediately establishes them as defying natural categories, sort of blurring the lines between genders, and by extension, between what is natural and unnatural, good and evil. It's right there. This physical ambiguity really embodies the theme of the supernatural from the very first lines, hinting at a world where accepted norms are inverted. Their brief, rhyming dialogue, filled with riddles and paradoxes, further reveals their malevolent intent and their peculiar, unsettling power. They feel like active instigators, subtly suggesting they might be capable of manipulating events and destinies, not just predicting them. Their presence here, amidst the storm and the talk of battle, directly foreshadows the disruption of natural and moral order that will characterize the entire play. They really set the tone for the play's descent into darkness and the blurring of moral lines.
And the line that truly embeds itself in your mind from this scene, maybe even from the whole play, is their chilling chant. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. Hover through the fog and filthy air. What profound implications does this paradox carry? right from these opening moments.
Oh, it's huge. This iconic paradox, fair is foul and foul is fair, it isn't just about moral inversion. It's Shakespeare's immediate, unsettling challenge to our perception as an audience, right from the start. He forces us into a state of moral uncertainty, questioning every truth that follows, almost implicating us in Macbeth's own confusion later on. It suggests a world where moral distinctions aren't just blurred, they might be completely inverted, where what seems good on the surface is, in fact, evil, and what appears evil might perversely be alluring or even lead to what someone desires. This sets the stage perfectly for Macbeth's own moral confusion and his subsequent corruption. He will struggle, agonizingly, to differentiate between genuine good and deceptive evil. The imagery of fog and filthy air is equally potent. It's profoundly symbolic, isn't it? Of the moral murkiness, the pervasive deception, the general obscuring of truth that will just permeate the play. It creates this atmosphere where clarity feels impossible, where characters, especially Macbeth, will operate in a state of profound moral confusion, spiritual disorientation. And yeah, the pathetic fallacy of the thunder and lightning further enhances this, reflecting a chaotic, unsettling mood that mirrors the internal turmoil Macbeth will soon face. It makes the external world a reflection of the inner corrupting one.
Right. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, how does this scene, specifically the witch's ominous presence and their paradoxical statement, immediately establish and develop those larger themes? Appearance versus reality, good versus evil.
Well, the witch's very existence, their non-human yet somewhat human appearance, their deeply unsettling paradoxical pronouncements, they instantly establish a world where these themes are paramount. No question. The audience is immediately cued to question what they see and hear, to be wary of surface impressions. When fair is foul and foul is fair, it means that nothing can truly be taken at face value. Deception is woven into the very fabric of existence in this play's world. This immediate anticipation of deception and moral inversion is crucial because it warns us, the audience, that the world of Macbeth is one where evil can wear the most convincing mask of good, and where the path to damnation might initially look like a glorious path to power and achievement. This early establishment of the themes primes you, the listener, to constantly look for these inversions throughout the narrative. It makes you an active participant in discerning the true nature of events and characters, much like Macbeth himself will be forced to do, although, with devastating consequences.
Okay, so the witches have sown their unsettling seeds, leaving us in that moral fog. But then Shakespeare pulls us abruptly out of that mystical gloom and straight into the brutal, chaotic reality of battle in Act 1, Scene 2. It's almost as if he wants to show us Macbeth before the poison fully takes hold, doesn't it? Give the baseline hero. Here, King Duncan receives these crucial, bloody reports about the ongoing battles. A bleeding captain, then Ross and Angus. They recount tales of Macbeth's extraordinary bravery, his fierce efficiency in defeating the traitor MacDonald, and his decisive role in repelling the King of Norway and the treacherous Thane of Cawdor. It truly paints a vivid picture of Macbeth as a loyal, formidable warrior, establishing his reputation before we even properly meet him.
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is the scene's structural role. It's a deliberate contrast, offering a different kind of exposition. It intentionally establishes Macbeth's pre-corruption heroism, which of course makes his subsequent fall from grace infinitely more tragic, more profound. When we first encounter Macbeth, it's through the admiring eyes of others, isn't it? He's the absolute epitome of a valiant hero, fighting with unyielding loyalty for his king and country. This scene also vividly highlights the established, seemingly stable order of the kingdom under King Duncan, and crucially, it reveals Duncan's benevolent, trusting, almost naively generous nature characteristics that will be dramatically undermined and, frankly, ruthlessly exploited later. The reports of battle success aren't just about victory. They directly set up the immediate fulfillment of the witch's first prophecy, because we hear of the current Thane of Cawdor's execution and Macbeth's instantaneous reward, which serves as this powerful, almost irresistible trigger for Macbeth's burgeoning ambition.
King Duncan, in this scene, he really comes across as a fundamentally good ruler. Almost trusting to a fault, you could say. He's portrayed as benevolent, remarkably trusting, generous, quick to reward loyalty without a hint of suspicion, which, knowing what's coming, feels incredibly tragic.
It's a key part of his characterization, almost heartbreaking, and it absolutely sets him up for a tragic downfall. Duncan is presented as a just and appreciative king who genuinely values loyalty and bravery above all else. His benevolence is clear in his quick, unhesitating decision to reward Macbeth. This portrayal makes his eventual murder even more heinous, more shocking, emphasizing the profound betrayal that's about to occur at the hands of the very man he so greatly honors. Macbeth, on the other hand, is characterized before his direct, corrupting encounter with the witch's full prophecies. He's described in unequivocally heroic, almost superhuman terms. Brave Macbeth, valor's minion, a formidable warrior who unseamed him McDonwald from the knave to the chops. That vivid, almost grotesquely brutal imagery, even in the context of heroic battle, highlights his exceptional skill, his fearlessness, and maybe worryingly a chilling capacity for extreme violence. It cements his reputation as a decisive and formidable fighter, a capability that will later tragically be turned to far darker, unnatural purposes. And there's also that powerful layer of dramatic irony in Duncan's effusive praise. "Oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman." We, the audience, know, or at least strongly suspect, that these very words of praise will soon lead to his undoing, thanks to the witch's earlier ominous words. It makes Duncan's blindness all the more poignant.
Speaking of that brutal imagery, the captain's description of Macbeth's efficiency is incredibly graphic, which ne'er shook hands nor bade farewell to him till he unseamed him from the knave to the chops, and fixed his head upon our battlements. What does this vivid, almost surgical description tell us about Macbeth, even at this early stage?
Well, this quote is deeply revealing, I think, because it exposes a kind of dual nature within Macbeth, even before his ambition is truly ignited. On one hand, yes, it undeniably showcases his ruthless efficiency, his extraordinary military prowess, his almost cold precision in a good cause defeating a traitor, defending the realm. The imagery is visceral, depicting an almost surgical brutality in his violence. But simultaneously, this intensity foreshadows his capacity for extreme violence later in the play, when it will be applied to a perverted, evil cause. It suggests a latent, chilling capability, a willingness to commit acts of extreme physical destruction that will be unleashed. And then Duncan's declarative statement, "No more that Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest, go, pronounce his present death, and with his former title, greet Macbeth." This decree of reward isn't just a straightforward plot point. It's the direct, unequivocal trigger for the witch's prophecy coming true. It provides the very first tangible, irrefutable evidence to Macbeth that their words hold undeniable truth, which will significantly and dangerously fuel his ambition. It transforms the prophecy from an abstract prediction into a concrete, immediate, and tempting reality.
So in terms of thematic resonance, how do Macbeth's actions here, which seem heroic and just on the surface, connect to the broader themes of good versus evil and justice? Is there a subtle hint of something darker, even in his noble deeds?
At this point in the play, yes, Macbeth's actions unequivocally represent the forces of good fighting against evil. He is defending the kingdom, upholding the established moral and political order, decisively defeating traitors. This initially reinforces the concept of justice. Loyalty is rewarded, treachery is swiftly punished. The scene initially sets up a clear, almost black and white moral universe where good triumphs over evil. However, the sheer extremity of the violence he employs, even in service of good, subtly hints at a darker, more dangerous potential within Macbeth. His capacity for such brutal efficiency, even if currently directed at enemies of the state, suggests a dangerous threshold that he is inherently capable of crossing. It's a foundational layer in his characterization that makes his later descent into villainy more understandable, more psychologically plausible, if, no less horrific. The violent imagery here is a crucial seed that, under the witch's malevolent influence, will grow into something monstrous and utterly destructive.
Okay, now this is truly the pivotal scene of Act 1, isn't it? Where the narrative pivots dramatically and everything begins to shift. The witches reappear, this time not in the abstract, but directly encountering Macbeth and Banquo on the heath. They greet Macbeth with three chilling, tantalizing titles. Thane of Glamis, his current known title, then Thane of Cawdor, which is unknown to him at the time, and finally the most audacious and tempting one, King Hereafter. But they don't stop there. They also prophesy that Banquo, though not king himself, will be the father of kings. And then, almost immediately, as if on cue, Ross and Angus arrive to confirm Macbeth's new title as Thane of Cawdor. It's a shocking, immediate, and utterly convincing validation of the witch's words, pulling Macbeth right into their orbit.
This scene cannot be overstated in its structural importance. It is the unequivocal, inciting incident of the entire play. Full stop. This is the moment when abstract, seemingly fantastical predictions become concrete and terrifyingly real, directly planting the seeds of ambition and profound internal conflict in Macbeth's mind. The immediate, partial fulfillment of the prophecy being named Thane of Cawdor lends the witch's words an undeniable, almost supernatural credibility in Macbeth's eyes. This rapid confirmation is precisely what pushes him from passive contemplation into active internal struggle and eventually determined murderous plotting. It's the critical juncture where the external supernatural influence directly intersects with Macbeth's deepest, perhaps subconscious desires, setting the central conflict irrevocably in motion. From this precise moment, the dramatic tension just spirals sharply upward.
And Macbeth's reaction to these prophecies is immediate and profound, isn't it?
He's described as immediately rapt, almost mesmerized by their words, and visibly starts and seems to fear things that do sound so fair. His very first soliloquy in this scene gives us an unparalleled, chilling glimpse into his innermost thoughts and the darkness that quickly begins to stir within him.
Indeed, this scene offers an astonishingly deep dive into Macbeth's nascent psychological state. His reaction is incredibly telling. To start and seem to fear indicates that the prophecies, particularly the third one about kingship, immediately evoke a horrid image in his mind, the direct, terrifying thought of murder, regicide. Even before the second prophecy is confirmed, his mind jumps almost instinctively to killing Duncan. This reveals a latent, pre-existing ambition, doesn't it? A dark potential that isn't created by the witches, but rather awakened, amplified, and given a dangerous direction by their words. It's not that the witches force him to act, they simply articulate a possibility that already resonates within him, perhaps dormant until this very moment.
Interesting distinction.
And contrast this, strikingly, with Banquo's reaction. He is far more cautious, more discerning. He questions the witches' nature, calls them fantastical, wonders if they've eaten on the insane root that takes the reason prisoner. He's looking for explanations. He accepts his own prophecy about being the father of kings with significantly less immediate, violent intent. He's more discerning, recognizing the potential for deceit in what appears fair. He even warns Macbeth that, oftentimes, to win us to our harm, the instruments of darkness tell us truths, win us with honest trifles to betrays in deepest consequence. A clear warning. This immediate, stark contrast between the reactions highlights Macbeth's inherent susceptibility to the witch's influence and his burgeoning corruptibility. It differentiates him sharply from Banquo, who will serve as a crucial moral foil throughout the play, representing a path not taken.
Right. Let's hone in on those key quotations because they're so potent. The witch's direct salutations. All hail, Macbeth. Hail to thee, Thane of Glamis. All hail, Macbeth. Hail to thee, Thane of Cawdor. All hail, Macbeth, that shalt be king hereafter. And then Macbeth's immediate, profound internal struggle laid bare in his supernatural soliciting soliloquy.
The witch's salutations are direct, incredibly tempting, and delivered with this almost mystical authority that seems to bypass reason, appealing directly to Macbeth's deepest desires. The immediate confirmation of the Thane of Cawdor title, delivered by Ross and Angus, instantly validates their first two greetings, giving immense, undeniable weight to the third most tantalizing prophecy. This rapid validation is why Macbeth's subsequent soliloquy is so vital and so psychologically revealing. He grapples with this supernatural soliciting, cannot be ill, cannot be good. This incredibly ambiguous line perfectly encapsulates his moral confusion and the blurring lines in his mind. If the prophecy is evil, why has it already brought him tangible success? If it's good, why does it conjure such a horrid image of murder that doth unfix my hair and make my seated heart knock at my ribs against the use of nature? This profound internal conflict between what seems fair, the alluring prophecy of kingship, and what is foul, the horrifying, unnatural thought of murder, is at the very core of his immediate struggle.
And that line, nothing is but what is not.
Exactly. That line directly echoes the fair is foul paradox from Scene 1, powerfully demonstrating how deeply the witch's inversion of reality has already penetrated his psyche. He is quite literally losing his grip on objective morality, and the boundaries between concrete reality and horrifying imagination are blurring for him. He's becoming untethered. Shakespeare masterfully uses asides extensively here, allowing Macbeth to reveal his private dark thoughts directly to us, the audience. This creates immense dramatic irony, as other characters like Banquo, Ross, and Angus remain completely unaware of the murderous thoughts and the profound internal turmoil brewing in his mind. We, the audience, become chillingly complicit in his internal struggle, witnessing his corruption firsthand, making his eventual tragic choice all the more impactful and heartbreaking.
This scene clearly resonates with the core themes of ambition, fate versus free will, and appearance versus reality. How does it develop these, and what does it suggest about Macbeth's agency here? Is he just a puppet?
Well, this scene is quite simply where ambition truly ignites for Macbeth. The prophecies act as a powerful, almost chemical spark, transforming a latent, perhaps unacknowledged desire into an active, consuming thought. And it directly poses that age-old, profound question of fate versus free will. Are Macbeth's actions predetermined by the witch's prophecies, or does he choose to make them come true? His agonizing, detailed internal struggle, so vividly displayed in his soliloquy, strongly suggests he still possesses free will. But the witch's words have provided a clear, tempting roadmap, or perhaps given voice to a pre-existing thought that he ultimately chooses to follow. His immediate, almost instinctive contemplation of murder, even before outside confirmation, shows his active choice. even if it's a choice he struggles with profoundly. The profound moral dilemma, the struggle between ill and good, highlights this crucial, agonizing choice he has to make.
And the witches themselves contribute to that appearance versus reality theme.
Absolutely. The very ambiguity of the witches themselves, their unsettling appearance, their riddles, their sudden, mysterious vanishing, reinforces the theme of appearance versus reality. They are not entirely clear, their words are open to interpretation. This ambiguity allows Macbeth to project his own desires onto their predictions, seeing a path to kingship that requires action rather than simply waiting passively for fate to unfold. The scene establishes that deception isn't just an external force, it can be deeply internal, where one deceives oneself about the true nature of one's desires and the profound implications of one's actions. Macbeth is, in a way, already beginning to deceive himself about the darkness he is willing to embrace.
Okay, moving on. We find ourselves back at King Duncan's palace in Forres for Scene 4. Malcolm reports on the surprisingly dignified execution of the former Thane of Cawdor, who died confessing his treason, begging for forgiveness. Duncan, ever the trusting soul, reflects on his inability to truly read minds and his deep, almost naive trust in people. And then, a moment of profound consequence. He thanks Macbeth profusely for his heroism and, seemingly out of nowhere, names his son Malcolm as his heir, the Prince of Cumberland. This is a massive, unexpected development, isn't it? Especially given Macbeth's recent internal turmoil.
It absolutely is. This scene serves a vital, almost cruel structural role by immediately escalating the rising action towards conflict. It introduces a direct, immediate, and profoundly significant obstacle to Macbeth's newly ignited ambition. Until this precise moment, kingship was maybe an abstract, perhaps distant future possibility for Macbeth. But Malcolm's appointment makes it a concrete, unavoidable barrier that now stands squarely in his path. This forces Macbeth from passive, agonizing contemplation into active, desperate plotting. It's a clear shift in his psychological state. It's also a scene that tragically reinforces Duncan's defining character flaw, his excessive, almost blind, trusting nature. His earlier comment about the executed Cawdor, "There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face. He was a gentleman on whom I build an absolute trust," is just profoundly ironic. He utters these words just before he is about to extend that very same absolute trust to Macbeth, who is already actively contemplating his murder. This dramatic irony is palpable and deeply unsettling for us, the audience, intensifying the sense of impending doom and the tragic inevitability of Duncan's fate.
That line about reading faces is just so perfectly, tragically ironic given what's about to happen. And Macbeth's immediate reaction to Malcolm's appointment is hidden from the other characters, but so powerfully revealed to us, the audience, through his intense aside.
Exactly. Duncan's statement, "There's no art to find the mind's construction in the face," delivered with such earnest reflection just before Macbeth enters, is perhaps one of the most poignant and chilling examples of dramatic irony in the entire play. He truly believes he can't be deceived, yet he's completely and utterly blind to the dark, murderous intentions of the very man he just praised and rewarded. This underscores his tragic vulnerability and sets him up as a victim of his own noble but misplaced trust. Macbeth, in public, maintains this facade of unwavering loyalty and profound humility, stating, "The service and the loyalty I owe in doing it pays itself." Saying all the right things. This outward politeness, this carefully constructed performance contrasts sharply with his inner thoughts, which are immediately terrifyingly revealed to us through an aside. His internal monologue is chillingly direct. "The Prince of Cumberland, that is a step on which I must fall down or else o'erleap, for in my way it lies." This explicitly names Malcolm as the direct obstacle and reveals Macbeth's stark recognition that he must now take active, violent steps to save the crown. This moves him from merely contemplating murder as an abstract idea to acknowledging a necessary, immediate target for his ambition.
And the imagery he uses, "Stars, hide your fires."
Yes, the imagery in his subsequent lines is equally, if not more, crucial for understanding his spiraling mental state. "Stars, hide your fires, let not light see my black and deep desires. The eye wink at the hand, yet let that be, which the eye fears when it is done to see." This powerful invocation of darkness to conceal his wicked intentions is highly symbolic. "Stars, hide your fires" suggests a desperate desire to extinguish the moral light, the divine judgment that might expose his burgeoning evil. "Let not light see my black and deep desires" vividly portrays his shame, his profound internal conflict, and the intense repulsion he feels towards his own ambition and what it demands. The desire for his eye to wink at the hand signifies his horrifying wish to commit the deed without truly having to witness or acknowledge the full horror and moral weight of it. Compartmentalization, almost. This masterful use of an aside is absolutely vital as it allows us, the audience, direct, unfiltered access to Macbeth's true, dark intentions, solidifying his tragic trajectory from honorable warrior to aspiring regicide.
So how do we see ambition, appearance versus reality, and good versus evil developing even further and more concretely in this pivotal scene?
Well, Malcolm's designation as heir directly, almost immediately, fuels Macbeth's ambition with a newfound desperate urgency and explicitly pushes him further towards evil. The kingship is no longer a distant, uncertain prophecy, but an immediate, tangible prize, and now there's a clear, living obstacle standing directly in his path. This crystallizes his murderous intent, forcing him to confront the grim reality of what his ambition demands. Duncan's trusting nature throughout the scene, especially his profound blindness to Macbeth's true thoughts and his inability to read the mind's construction in the face, powerfully underscores the theme of appearance versus reality. Duncan sees only the loyal thane, the valiant warrior, never perceiving the burgeoning regicide lurking beneath the facade of deference. He is tragically deceived by Macbeth's outwardly loyal face. Macbeth's invocation for darkness, his black and deep desires, illustrates the growing dominance of evil in his mind. He is actively choosing to embrace the foul path, despite fully knowing it is morally reprehensible and a violation of all natural order. This scene solidifies his conscious, accelerating turn towards villainy, making it increasingly clear that his fate is now, more than ever, a product of his free will and his choices, rather than merely the witch's initial manipulation.
Okay, the stage shifts now to Macbeth's imposing castle in Inverness, where we finally meet the formidable Lady Macbeth. She's reading a letter from her husband detailing the witch's prophecies. Her reaction is immediate and, frankly, chilling. A fierce, unyielding determination to ensure the kingship for her husband, despite her fears about his, quote, milk of human kindness. A messenger then arrives, announcing King Duncan's imminent visit, and Lady Macbeth's resolve hardens even further. She sees this as a perfect opportunity. She then welcomes Macbeth, and they begin their chilling discussion, solidifying their intentions. This scene introduces a truly formidable and terrifying new force into the play, doesn't it?
Indeed, this scene is absolutely crucial for heightening the rising action and accelerating the plot towards its tragic, bloody climax. Lady Macbeth instantly emerges as the primary, relentless driving force behind the ambition, pushing Macbeth directly towards the heinous act. Her immediate strategizing upon reading the letter, coupled with her chilling willingness to suppress her own femininity and natural compassion to achieve their nefarious goal, is central to her characterization and to their joint dark enterprise. She shrewdly identifies her husband's perceived weakness, his milk of human kindness, as an obstacle that she must overcome, marking her as both ruthless and frighteningly proactive. The sudden, unexpected news of Duncan's visit provides the perfect, immediate opportunity, which she seizes with remarkable cunning, speed, and ruthless pragmatism. She sees the path, and she intends to clear it immediately.
So tell us more about Lady Macbeth herself. She emerges here as such a formidable character, possessing a ruthlessness and single-minded drive that, at least initially, seems to dwarf Macbeth's internal struggles and moral qualms. She's impatient, fiercely ambitious, utterly without hesitation.
Lady Macbeth is introduced as a dynamic and profoundly complex character who directly and frankly shockingly challenges Elizabethan gender expectations. Her character analysis hinges entirely on her powerful, almost terrifying soliloquy after reading Macbeth's letter. She fears Macbeth is too full of the milk of human kindness to seize the crown by the necessary nefarious means, which ironically reveals her own profound, almost terrifying lack of such kindness. This demonstrates her cold, pragmatic, and utterly ruthless view of ambition and what it demands. Her shocking invocation to unsex me here and fill me from the crown to the toe, top full of direst cruelty, is a profound psychological and spiritual transformation she actively seeks. It's an active, conscious invitation for malevolent, dark forces to harden her conscience, to strip away any traditional feminine compassion or empathy that might hinder their murderous plans. This desire to shed conventional feminine traits to achieve her goal is radical, chilling, and deeply unsettling. Her quick, cunning response to the messenger's news, the king comes here tonight, shows her immediate, pragmatic plotting, highlighting her decisive and utterly ruthless nature. She doesn't hesitate. She moves directly to the grim planning phase, setting a powerful, relentless example for her wavering husband.
Let's really dig into the implications of unsex me here. It's such a visceral, disturbing plea. And then her chilling, iconic instruction to Macbeth when he arrives, look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under Dick.
Unsex me here is far more than mere hyperbole or dramatic flourish. It represents Lady Macbeth's active, desperate desire for profound psychological and spiritual transformation. She wishes to divest herself of the perceived weaknesses associated with her gender in that era: compassion, nurturing instincts, hesitation, moral qualms, and instead be filled with direst cruelty, the kind necessary for committing regicide without remorse. It's a chillingly literal call for evil spirits to harden her, to make her conscience impenetrable, to remove any shred of human kindness that might stand in her way. This demonstrates her active, full embrace of evil, making her a truly formidable, almost supernatural force in herself, embodying the darkness that Macbeth only flutes with at this point. Her subsequent instruction to Macbeth, "Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it," directly embodies the appearance versus reality theme in its most chilling form. It's a direct, chilling directive on deception, advising Macbeth to adopt a facade of welcoming hospitality and innocent harmlessness to completely conceal their murderous intent. This line perfectly encapsulates the core deceptive strategy they will jointly employ, a strategy absolutely crucial to the appearance versus reality theme that permeates every layer of the play. It also subtly hints at the biblical imagery of temptation and original sin, doesn't it? With the serpent representing the ultimate deceiver, suggesting the evil nature of their plan. The dramatic irony here is also incredibly high, as she plans Duncan's murder while discussing his honors and making preparations for his grand, unsuspecting welcome. It's completely unknown to him. This stark, terrifying contrast between her outward words and her inner thoughts reveals the profound depth of her sinister plotting and her capacity for cold, calculated malevolence.
How does this scene, through Lady Macbeth's character and her actions, contribute to the themes of ambition, good versus evil, and appearance versus reality?
Well, this scene vividly reveals Lady Macbeth's ambition as cold, calculating, and absolutely unyielding. Unlike Macbeth's earlier internal struggle, her ambition is immediate, singular, laser-focused on the goal. Her willingness to actively invite evil forces and shed her own nature for personal gain powerfully emphasizes the theme of good versus evil, showing her actively and consciously choosing the path of darkness. She becomes the indispensable catalyst, the driving force that will eventually pull Macbeth across that moral line. Her direct instruction to look like the innocent flower is a direct, chilling manifestation of deliberate, strategic deception, which is central to the appearance versus reality theme. It's not just about things seeming one way, it's about actively creating a deceptive appearance, a complete inversion of truth. She understands that to achieve their greatness, they must fundamentally invert moral values and maintain a flawless false face, cementing this theme at the very heart of their dark enterprise. She is, in many ways, the architect of their deception.
Following the intense, chilling planning of Scene 5, we have this brief but incredibly impactful scene where King Duncan, Banquo, and their retinue finally arrive in Macbeth's castle, Inverness. They are utterly charmed by the pleasant, welcoming atmosphere. Lady Macbeth greets them with seemingly gracious, almost effusive hospitality. It's a moment of deceptive calm, yes, but one so heavily loaded with dramatic irony that it almost crackles with tension for us, the audience.
Precisely. This scene's primary structural role is to dramatically intensify the dramatic irony to an almost unbearable degree. It serves as a brief, chillingly deceptive moment of calm before the storm, making Duncan's unsuspecting vulnerability all the more poignant and the Macbeth's profound, calculated deception all the more chilling. The perceived tranquility, beauty, and peacefulness of the castle setting starkly contrast with the evil that is not just brewing, but has been actively plotted within those very walls. It underscores, with terrifying clarity, the theme that appearances are utterly deceptive, and that the most insidious evil can reside behind the most welcoming, idyllic facade. We, the audience, are keenly aware of the Macbeth's true murderous intentions, which transforms Duncan's genuine appreciation and benevolent observations into tragic foresight, making his fate seem even more inevitable and heartbreaking.
King Duncan continues to embody his trusting and appreciative nature here, doesn't he? Utterly oblivious to the mortal danger he's walking into. He's almost a picture of innocent goodwill.
Duncan's characterization remains steadfastly consistent. He is presented as kind, profoundly generous, and completely unsuspecting. His almost childlike inability to perceive evil lurking beneath a pleasant exterior makes him a truly tragic figure. He is, by all accounts, a good king, but his trusting nature, his inherent goodness, proves to be his fatal flaw in this treacherous, inverted world. Lady Macbeth, on the other hand, delivers a masterful, chilling performance. She is the perfect hostess, skillfully masking her wicked intentions with elaborate, effusive expressions of loyalty and gracious gratitude. Her chilling ability to feign such warmth, sincerity, and utter devotion underscores her formidable will and her terrifying deceptive capabilities. She is entirely in control, projecting an image that completely belies her inner malevolence. Even Banquo's observation of the temple-haunting martlet, a type of swallow known for nesting in churches symbolizing peace and purity, and his comment on the delicate air reinforces this idyllic facade. Even nature itself seems to endorse the peacefulness and sanctity of the castle, further amplifying the profound dramatic irony and making the impending betrayal even more grotesque.
Let's focus on those specific lines, because they're just dripping with irony, aren't they? Duncan's observations about the castle. This castle hath a pleasant seat. The air nimbly and sweetly recommends itself unto our gentle senses. And Banquo's agreement. This guest of summer, the temple-haunting martlet, does prove by his love mansionry that the heaven's breath smells wooingly here.
The dramatic irony here is immense, deeply unsettling, and almost unbearable for us, the knowing audience. Duncan's words, describing the castle as having a pleasant seat and the air nimbly and sweetly recommending itself, convey an overwhelming sense of peace, natural beauty, and welcome. Banquo, a morally upright and discerning character, corroborates this, even mentioning the temple-haunting martlet, a bird traditionally associated with sanctity and peace. The heaven's breath, supposedly smelling wooingly here, suggests a place that is not only naturally blessed but divinely inviting. However, we, the audience, are acutely aware of the horrors that have been meticulously planned and are about to unfold within these very walls. We know that Duncan's pleasant seat will, in fact, be his deathbed, and the sweet air will soon be thick with the stench of murder and betrayal. This chilling knowledge transforms these innocent, appreciative observations into deeply unsettling pronouncements, amplifying the tension and the horror of the impending crime. The stark contrast between the outward beauty and the hidden foul intentions is a prime, devastating example of the play's core idea. That nothing is what it seems, preparing us for the ultimate act of deception and moral inversion.
So this scene is, above all, a masterclass in appearance versus reality and deception.
Precisely. The entire scene is a carefully crafted, chilling tableau of deception. The beautiful setting, the warm, welcoming words, the fair and noble hostess, all are merely an elaborate facade. They meticulously conceal the foul, murderous intentions harbored by the Macbeths, especially Lady Macbeth's cunning performance. This scene directly manifests the central theme of appearance versus reality, demonstrating its devastating power. Duncan is completely taken in by the outward show of loyalty and hospitality, tragically sealing his own fate. It profoundly reinforces the idea that in this world, which has been turned upside down by dark forces, evil wears the most convincing, beautiful mask of good, making it virtually impossible for the innocent and unsuspecting to perceive danger. It's a chilling demonstration of how easily one can be deceived and ultimately destroyed when trust is so profoundly misplaced and unchecked ambition runs rampant, transforming a welcoming home into a deadly trap.
And we've arrived at the psychological and narrative climax of Act 1, haven't we? A scene that determines the entire tragic trajectory of the play. We find Macbeth alone, delivering this powerful, agonizing soliloquy, where he deeply debates the moral, spiritual, and practical consequences of murdering King Duncan. He's clearly conflicted and initially makes the definitive decision not to go through with it, which is huge. But then Lady Macbeth enters, and through a masterful, brutal display of manipulation, challenging his masculinity, questioning his love, dissecting his courage, she relentlessly convinces him to commit the murder, even outlining a detailed, coldly practical plan to frame the guards. This truly feels like the point of no return for Macbeth, where his fate is sealed.
This scene is, without a doubt, the absolute climax of Act 1 and a critical, irreversible turning point for the entire play. This is where Macbeth definitively chooses his path, not solely by himself, but heavily influenced, perhaps even psychologically forced, by Lady Macbeth's relentless persuasion. This choice sets the central conflict of ambition against morality irrevocably and violently in motion. Macbeth's profound internal struggle, laid bare in his searing soliloquy, ultimately resolves into a catastrophic decision that will shape the rest of the tragedy, leading directly and inevitably to his downfall and the kingdom's ruin. It transitions the play from rising action into the immediate precipice of the heinous deed, leaving us, well, breathless.
Macbeth, in his soliloquy, displays genuine, profound moral qualms. He explicitly fears the judgment here and the poisoned chalice of violent deeds returning to our own lips. He even recognizes Duncan's virtues and his own profound double trust as kinsman, subject, and host. He seems to be leaning strongly away from the murder, almost convinced not to do it.
His soliloquy, it's an extraordinary dive into his psyche, revealing his psychological state in agonizing detail. He is deeply tormented by the potential consequences, both earthly and spiritual, the life to come. When he begins, if it were done when 'tis done, then 'twere well, it were done quickly, he's contemplating a swift, clean act, but immediately recognizes the futility of escaping judgment here, or the spiritual damnation that awaits him. He feels that bloody instructions, which, being taught, return to plague the inventor, suggesting a clear, almost prophetic understanding of karma or poetic justice that will haunt him. This soliloquy profoundly showcases his capacity for moral reasoning before his ultimate irrevocable corruption. He powerfully acknowledges Duncan's many virtues, how meek he has borne his faculties, how clear he has been in his great office, and how his virtues will plead like angels trumpet-tongued against the deep damnation of his taking off. He fully grasps the enormity of the crime. It's not just murder, but regicide, kinslaying, and a profound, sacred breach of hospitality. This intellectual and moral awareness, this agonizing internal conflict, makes his later surrender to evil and his subsequent descent all the more tragic and devastating. He knows the cost, yet he is pushed to pay it.
And then Lady Macbeth enters, and it's a complete, brutal change of pace. She's strategic, absolutely ruthless, relentless in her manipulation. She doesn't just suggest, she attacks him, almost dismantles his very identity.
Her entry marks an immediate, dramatic, and frankly terrifying shift in the scene's power dynamic. She instantly takes command, her sheer force of will completely dominating Macbeth's wavering resolve and moral hesitations. She scolds him with biting sarcasm, calls him a coward, asking, "Was the hope drunk wherein you dressed yourself?" She questions his love, his commitment, and most effectively, she leverages his ego and ruthlessly attacks his sense of masculinity. "Art thou feared to be the same in thine own act and valor as thou art in desire?" She doesn't entertain his moral dilemma for a single moment. She dismisses it entirely as weakness, as cowardice. Her famous humiliating, like the poor cat in the adage, simile referring to a cat that wants fish but fears wetting its paws, is a biting, emasculating attack on his perceived cowardice and hesitation.
Very brutal.
Absolutely. She then, with chilling clarity, lays out a detailed, practical plan designed to overcome his fear of earthly consequences and provide a scapegoat. She proposes to ply Duncan's grooms, guards, with wine and possets until they are drenched and asleep. Then Macbeth can use their very daggers to commit the murder, and they will smear the sleepy grooms with blood to frame them. This detailed practical solution, which she executes with undaunted mettle and frightening conviction, demonstrates her sheer force of will and her chilling practicality. She provides the means to trammel up the consequence, effectively removing his stated practical objections and ethical quibbles. Her dominance in this scene is absolute. She doesn't just suggest, she pushes Macbeth, with terrifying effectiveness, into the very decision that he was actively, agonizingly trying to avoid.
Let's specifically highlight Macbeth's arguments against the murder, Lady Macbeth's persuasive attacks, and the cold practicality of her detailed plan. It's such a powerful exchange.
Okay, so Macbeth's arguments against the murder are clearly articulated and deeply moral. He invokes the double trust, his role as kinsman, subject, host. He praises Duncan's virtues as king, and he fears the karmic retribution that bloody instructions return to plague the inventor. He recognizes the deep damnation of the act. Lady Macbeth's counter-arguments, however, they're not logical. They're psychological assaults. She ridicules his hope as drunk, questions his courage, art thou feared, and uses the poor cat in the adage to diminish him, challenging his very identity as a man. Her rhetoric is designed to wound his pride, eliminate his moral hesitations, and force him into action by shaming him.
And the plan itself.
The plan, when she finally delivers it, is cunning, comprehensive, and addresses Macbeth's practical fears of getting caught. While Duncan is almost supped, she'll ply his grooms with wine and possets until they are utterly drenched and asleep. Then Macbeth can use their very daggers to commit the murder, and they will smear the sleepy grooms with blood to frame them, making it seem like the guards committed the regicide. This practical solution skillfully addresses Macbeth's fear of earthly consequences, making the be-all and the end-all here seem achievable, almost justifiable in a perverted way. By removing the perceived difficulty of the deed and providing a clear scapegoat, she effectively dismantles Macbeth's last objections, leaving him no room to retreat. Macbeth's chilling resolve, the final, decisive line of the act, "False face must hide what the false heart doth know," is the horrifying culmination. It powerfully reinforces the central theme of deliberate deception, showing his full commitment to the appearance versus reality inversion, and marks his significant conscious step into the world where foul is fair.
This scene truly brings together the themes of guilt and its consequences, ambition and appearance versus reality, in a terrifying, unavoidable convergence.
This scene is, without question, the ultimate manifestation of unchecked ambition triumphing over a flickering moral conscience. Macbeth's initial profound hesitation clearly foreshadows his later torment, the pervasive guilt, and the debilitating psychological consequences that will plague him throughout the play. Lady Macbeth's chilling ruthlessness and her terrifying ability to manipulate highlight the destructive, corrosive nature of unchecked ambition, revealing it as a force that consumes everything in its path. She acts as the powerful, undeniable catalyst for evil, effectively pulling Macbeth into the abyss that he himself had glimpsed but recoiled from. The final, horrifying agreement to hide what the false heart doth know cements the theme of deliberate, profound deception, emphasizing that their actions require a conscious, terrifying split between outward appearance and inner dark reality. Crucially, this scene also heavily emphasizes the theme of fate versus free will. While the witches provided the tantalizing prophecy, Macbeth, through this agonizing internal debate and his ultimate reluctant submission to Lady Macbeth's overwhelming will, chooses to act upon it. This agonizing choice solidifies his path, making his tragic downfall a direct consequence of his own agency, his own choices, even if influenced by potent external forces. He walks knowingly, willingly into the horror, and there is no turning back. #, Act Some Million Forward Look.
Wow, what a journey through Act 1. This act has truly been a whirlwind of prophecy, escalating ambition, and dark, horrifying resolve. We've witnessed Macbeth transform from a celebrated national hero, praised for his valor and loyalty, to a man actively contemplating, agonizing over, and then ultimately committing to regicide. Heavily influenced by the witch's tantalizing predictions, and most crucially, his wife's relentless, unyielding drive, the seeds of tragedy are not just sown, they've sprouted with frightening, irreversible speed, forcing Macbeth onto a path from which there is no escape.
You've hit on it perfectly. Act 1 has powerfully established the inciting incident with the witches' prophecies, which immediately sets Macbeth's ambition alight, and then rapidly confirms the initial part of their predictions. It has also introduced the core, agonizing conflict of ambition against morality, showing Macbeth's initial struggle before his complete, though reluctant, surrender. Crucially, it has established the critical and frankly terrifying relationship dynamic between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, with her clearly taking the lead, acting as the primary catalyst and driving force in their dark enterprise. By the end of this act, the path to Duncan's murder is no longer just considered or wished for. It is actively plotted, meticulously planned, and a horrifying agreement to commit the heinous deed has been irrevocably forged. The dramatic tension is now at its absolute excruciating peak. The pervasive themes of good versus evil, appearance versus reality, and the profoundly corrosive nature of unchecked ambition have been vividly introduced and are now in full terrifying motion, propelling the narrative forward. What has fundamentally and tragically changed by the end of this act is Macbeth's moral compass. It's now irreversibly pointed towards evil by a conscious, albeit agonizing choice, setting him and the entire kingdom on a tragic, bloody, and unavoidable course.
And so, with the decision to murder made, what will be the immediate repercussions of such a heinous act? And how will Macbeth and Lady Macbeth grapple with the irreversible horror and terrifying consequences of their choice as Act 2 unfolds? That's what we'll uncover next time when the blood inevitably begins to stain their hands. Thank you for joining us on this literary journey. Hit subscribe and share to become part of our AI-human collaboration, where every listener helps shape future episodes.